What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of National Pastime. John Toaster and J Rob here, and we've got your divisional round recap. Hands down, the best week of football in recent memory. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I can't think of anything else, but 3 games and on game-winning field goals. The fourth was arguably the game of the year and went to overtime. I mean, just incredible football. And I
The
don't think
Thursday
we
night
can
game
top
didn't leave
this.
a lot to be desired, and I'm really not feeling the Monday night football game this week. So,
I know. Yeah, me either. We should just skip them. What do you think? Just get
okay,
right
yeah,
to
let's just
championship round.
focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll focus on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. But seriously, like these 4 games, if you're a football fan, like Saturday and Sunday was just, I don't know how you can top it, right? Like, is there any scenario where the Super Bowl, like tops that as any of the games that we saw, or not necessarily any of the games, they were all close, but like the Super Bowl and all the hoopla surrounding it, I don't think can beat what this week of football made me feel like as a football fan.
No, if you're a football fan, this is pretty much the epitome of what you'd want. If you're an AARP fan, also might be the epitome of what you want, based on what the Packers and the Bucks were able to do.
Yes, for sure. Well, we will get to those games for sure, but I suppose we should just go in order here and start with the Bengals at the Titans. So, sorry, Titans. They're definitely the Titans now, I think, formally. Um,
I think Vrabel would appreciate that, at this point, considering that his post-game recap was that they sacked Burrow too many times.
yeah. Anytime you can sack a quarterback too many times, it's a recipe for disaster. Yeah, the Bengals win this one 19-16. As mentioned, they win it on a field goal as time expired. And, we everything we talked about in this one, we talked about Tractor Cito in our preview. He never really got going, 20 carries for 62 yards. He did have that goal line touchdown, but he never really felt like a difference maker in this one. And then I guess my broader question to you guys is, were the Titans exposed as frauds, or did Ryan Tannehill just pick the worst fucking time to shit the bed? Because he was awful in this one.
Yeah, I don't know that I would throw the entire Tennessee Titans down as frauds. I think trying to put Derrick Henry back into a full workload was probably not the best scenario, considering that Deontay Foreman had a couple of nice runs as well. They probably could
Yeah.
have split carries a little bit more, but Tannehill threw a interception on his first pass, his last pass, and his first pass of the second half. It's just very tough to win close games that way, especially
hmm
when, I mean, the defense put up a fight. The Cincinnati, uh, only field goals in the first half. Like
hmm
they hung around, and it, to me, this game was mostly about Jamar Chase. Dude, fast as hell. He only had 5 receptions, but he had 109 yards, and 4 of those receptions weren't even past the line of scrimmage. This was all just Chase being a man, and again solidifying the fact that they made the right pick with that one at number 5.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the connection that he has with Joe Burrow too. It's like they always seem to know exactly where they need to be going based on what they're seeing from the defense. And I mean, this just I was shocked a little bit. Like I think I was the only one that took the Titans, right? You guys both took the Bengals,
Well, you took the
and
Titans. That was a good pick. It was the Titans that let you down.
the Titans showed up, though. Yeah, the Titans showed up. I mean, if I would have told you before the game that Joe Burrow wouldn't throw a touchdown pass and the
I would have
Bengals would
believed you.
win,
Oh, no.
yeah.
Okay, there's more stuff going. I
Well,
would have
no,
believed that
just
he wouldn't throw a touchdown pass,
and they would win.
and
Eh,
not that they would win. That's what I was saying.
right,
If I cut you off at the not throw a touchdown pass, I would have been
right.
there. If you would have told me that he got sacked 9 times, I would have said, you're being a little bit, uh, favoring this Titans defense, but I'm not gonna take it away from you with this Bengals offensive line, and that's gonna be their downfall. I don't think that they're gonna be able to hang long term with I mean, Joe just took awful sacks, just absolutely dreadful sacks to put them behind the line to gain,
Hmm.
and they were able to do just enough to pull it out. And that's
Yeah.
only because Tannehill played so awful. They had a combined QBR of 38.6, according to ESPN.
Okay, but riddle me this: like, yeah, Burrow, he took some bad sacks. He didn't throw a touchdown, but he completed 75% of his passes for 348 yards. And somehow Ryan Tannehill posted a higher PFF grade than him this week. He only threw for 220. He had one touchdown, three interceptions.
We
Like,
can
how
we
the
can get
fuck does
we can
that
get rid of
work?
the PFF subscription for next year's
I
pod.
think
I'm
so.
okay with saving the $100 there,
Yeah.
because yeah, Tannehill was number 3 ranked quarterback, and Burrow was number 4 ranked quarterback above
Yeah.
perennial all stars Jimmy Garoppolo, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Matthew
Matthew
Stafford.
Stafford.
So I don't I would lean more towards the QBR rating on this one, where I think
Yeah.
Tannehill had about a 10 and Joe Burrow had a 28, which is well below standard, and that reflects, quite frankly, what their play was. But
Hmm.
neither team could really get the running game going, and both of them rely on that being a
Hmm.
significant portion of their offense to open up some other things. I mean, if Jamar Chase doesn't break some of those catches, then we're talking about a completely different flow to that game. Not necessarily a different outcome, but he Joe Burrow didn't throw for 109 yards to him. He threw for 18 yards to him. Actually, sorry, I didn't subtract the ones behind the line of scrimmage. I think he threw for about 15 yards to Jamar Chase, and he ran for the rest of that. There's a long
Yeah.
play to Uzama at the end of the half that was not going to say meaningless, but it was 32 yards to pad his stats a
Yeah.
little bit. It didn't go anywhere. So this was definitely a poor quarterback performance than I was expecting from both of them. uh, I'm ultimately happy the Bengals were able to pull it out, because I like to see what Joe Burr can do. But I know that the NFL's a little sad to see the Titans fall out at this point, because I think that's a bigger draw to them, regardless of what the matchup was going to be, based on the outcome of the Chiefs Bills game.
Yeah. I mean, I probably agree with you. I think like the only the only point I would make, I guess, in contrast there is Joe Burrow's become a big enough star that are the Titans really a draw with Derrick Henry being their top star over a quarterback like, Joe Burrow and the numbers that he's put up recently and everything. I'm not so sure. I mean,
Joe
I
Burrow's
think
their star. Evan McPherson scored 13 points. I think this is a Vinatieri Tom Brady scenario we've got in the brew here. All due respect, props to him. A rookie kicker coming in, balls of steel. Whether or not the Joe Burrow thing was true when he said, "Okay, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship," before he made that kick,
yeah,
I'll give it to him either way. But
yeah.
to see that from a rookie kicker, the only kicker taken in this year's draft, was impressive for sure, because that looks like a tight butthole situation that was definitely reminiscent of Bengals past, when it comes to playoff appearances.
Sure. I
Actually, I guess
mean,
that's not completely true, considering they haven't made it this far in like their last 6, 7 postseason games.
yeah, they usually fail before they get to this point. Um, Josh, how you feeling about your Bengals? Joe Shiesty.
Dude, it was a hell of a game. With how many times he got sacked, I definitely was losing faith as it was going, but they pulled it out. And I will say, I'm excited with their chances against the Chiefs more than the Bills. I know we'll talk about that later, but I mean, I'm excited. I've got a couple buddies who are Bengals fans, and after the game, I did not hear from them, which means it's probably a good thing. They probably got really drunk and had a good time. So
Yeah.
I can't believe you get sacked 9 times, an NFL playoff record, and still stay in the game. I don't know if that's more to the fault of the Titans or more to the resolve of the Bengals and Joe Burrow just getting up every time. I saw like a crazy kind of stat where they showed the video of Burrow getting absolutely laid out at LSU on like a pick. And they said since that, and the guy like stood over and like taunted him. And they said since that hit, he's won the Heisman, has gone 15-0, won a national championship, first overall pick, and like just routed like 2 playoff wins and all that stuff. So, I mean, regardless of how far the Bengals go now, like I'm just so excited about like the future of like these young quarterbacks and how they're passing the torch without really, they kind of took the torch from these older guys and to just running with it.
Well, a couple of corrections there. It probably wasn't taunting because no one knows what taunting is anymore. Secondly, he got sacked way more than 9 times, but a couple of times he got bailed out by offensive penalties pre-snap. So how are you feeling about the fact that illegal formation is not a stop the play situation anymore?
You know how I feel about it. I fucking hate it. It's so stupid. Why let it continue? There's like no reason. But that is honestly so low on the list of issues that the NFL would need to fix that it's really not even worth us getting into. But
Their overtime rules might be a bigger issue.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that here in a little bit, and maybe a little bit on the taunting rule as well in regard to our buddy Tyreek Hill. But last thing for me on this one, this quote from Burrow after the game, I think is not insignificant. I'm not saying I think they're going to go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs necessarily, but he said that he's tired of them thinking of themselves as an underdog and using that as the motivation. He's like, we're good enough to be here. We're good enough to compete with any of these teams. They deserve to be there. And I think hearing that, like coming from your leader, your quarterback, that has to have an impact on ultimately how these guys are going to emotionally and mentally be ready to go for this next game. I love hearing that. Like, fuck the underdog shit. You just won 2 playoff games, like took down the number 1 seed, even if it was the Titans. I'm very, very excited. The AFC's quarterback situation moving forward right now looks fucking awesome. So very stoked.
I do have one question for you guys. If you're the Titans, are you shopping for another quarterback? Or doing like are you drafting a quarterback? Are you doing like a hope you bring someone up, or are you just running with Tannehill?
I hear Tua might be available, so like just go balls deep into the Miami Dolphins retread. I don't know. What about you, John?
I'm not so sure they can move on from him. So his cap hit next year jumps up from the 11.1 it was this year to 38.6 next year. If you look at even if they cut him, like post June 1 cut him, they still have that entire 38.6 dead cap hit. There's no way you're getting somebody to trade for him, which would give them a little bit of savings, especially if it was post June 1. But like that contract right now it's one of the more untouchable ones, I would imagine, that is going around the league. And there are some that are pretty fucking bad, honestly, for quarterbacks.
Yeah, they've kicked it down the line quite a bit. He just signed a new contract last year. It will be tough to move on from that one. So I think that's where your future's tied, and they need to focus on bringing some people back on the defense if they're able to, because that's the only thing that's going to keep them viable moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. All right. That was the least interesting game of the weekend by far. So let's get to some of the madness that followed. The 49ers go into Lambeau, cold. I think what term did I use the other day? Colder than a witch's titty. 0 degrees at Lambeau Field, and they win 13-10 on a Robbie Gould walk-off kick. Robbie Gould gets revenge. The Bears obviously were playing 4D chess when they cut him 5 years ago, knowing that it would ultimately be what sends Rodgers out of Green Bay in the NFC North. So I think the Bears deserve a lot of credit for that. That's all I'm saying.
Should have kept him.
Yeah. But really, the story of this one, right, was the Packers special teams letting them down. Like, to think that a team that's that good, special teams would be their downfall in a home playoff game like this is really sad. And I think it speaks so much to really the conversation around Aaron Rodgers and, his inability really to fulfill like his legacy, his level of play, or live up to, his talent and everything when you're looking purely at Super Bowls and even Super Bowl appearances. And I mean, and he took zero blame after the game, right? Like you knew he wasn't going to go out there and say like, "Oh yeah." Right. Yeah. Like he's such a douche. The fucking the whole internet rallying together to just dunk on him afterwards was beautiful. I mean, honestly, that was probably about as good as I've ever felt as a Bears fan, was watching Robbie Gould make that kick and seeing everybody just shit on Aaron Rodgers. Like that was nice.
Outplay Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has never lost a game where his defense didn't give up more than 14 points. And this is the game where it happened.
Wow.
I agree with you. This is a penultimate failure by Aaron Rodgers. As the best quarterback of all time, Brady included, you need to be able to score more than 10 points in this game.
Yeah. He said post game,
the best of all time. What?
Yeah.
Rodgers, quarterback, best pure thrower.
Aaron Rodgers.
Truly still even best out of the pocket thrower.
Nobody has ever played the position better than him. Yeah. Like I'm not sure it's really close.
I would take Pat Mahomes over Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, but you're projecting out on Pat Mahomes here. Aaron Rodgers is like a perennial 35 plus touchdown, like sub 6 interception guy. Nobody ever plays the position as well as he does. Like nobody has.
Look at the number of drop interceptions in Patrick Mahomes' career. It's egregious. You take Tyreek Hill away from him, I think that there's going to be a significant downgrade in Mahomes' line. Rodgers has done this.
You take Devontae Adams out of Rodgers' hands, though. Like you're looking at a similar issue
with wide receiver after wide receiver. He's still doing it with Randall fucking Cobb
as a 3.
They threw him to the fucking Texans, and they're like, okay, bring him back with just this.
If he's such a facilitator, then why did he have 22 targets to Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams and 6 to the rest of the team?
Oh, there's no question he didn't play great in this game, but you can 100% make the claim, and I would support it, that Patrick Mahomes is the most talented person to ever play the position. Nobody has ever played the position better than Aaron Rodgers. Play in, play out, game in, game out. Nobody.
Aaron Jones.
I mean,
he got one Super Bowl.
Aaron Rodgers had 21 targets to Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams, and Patrick Mahomes had 20 targets to Tyreek Hill and Jerick McKinnon. So what the fuck's the point?
Because he also had Travis Kelce. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I feel like Rodgers gets this like magic thing of, oh God, he's so amazing. But it's like, dude, like I know Super Bowls aren't everything, but if you're going to get labeled like that and you only have one Super Bowl to show for it, I don't know.
Oh, trust me, it's 100% a mark on his legacy and his downfall. Brady is the GOAT, undisputed, because of 7 championships. There's just nothing you can say against that. But I think, like, purely from the perspective of playing the position, I don't think anybody has ever done it as well as Aaron Rodgers does.
And to clarify this, because I think that this is your point, our points of the line on this, John. We're not talking about the greatest, when we say greatest to play the position, we're talking about the athletic ability, the skill. We're not necessarily talking about the ability to elevate their team. And that's why Tom Brady will forever be the GOAT. Because nobody's going to touch 7 Super Bowls. But from a pure talent, what you would expect from that position, if you were prototypical, just going through a lineup saying, okay, we got to save one of these guys from whatever crime they committed, you'd pick Aaron Rodgers to run your team.
Like arm strength, accuracy, intelligence, athleticism. Like Rodgers
Immunity.
doesn't immunity. Yeah, Rodgers doesn't get the credit as an athlete, especially at this point in his career, as he should. But the dude is, I mean, pocket presence. Like he checks every single box and does the majority of those things better than anyone has ever done it. I mean, um, I get your hesitation, and maybe it when you first hear it, it's jarring, but I legitimately don't think anybody has ever played the position better than Aaron Rodgers.
I also wouldn't jump in with Patrick Mahomes right away on that one. I think that there's some longevity aspects to this that Mahomes will need to comprehend, especially when they actually have to start paying the fucker and see what happens to the talent around them.
Yeah.
Mahomes is already paid.
No,
Not yet. His extension is tacked on to his rookie deal. So
I thought his contract was for $500 million.
it is, but
he hasn't started.
It hasn't kicked in yet.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So
His Patrick Mahomes cap hit this year, it was 35 mil. So maybe this was the first year.
Okay. And then what is it moving forward? Because I know his average is 45.
Yeah, it goes up to 46 and then never drops below 40 for the rest of his 10-year contract.
Okay.
Regardless, San Fran Packers. Let's get back to the potatoes here.
Couple things here. Debo basically sealing the game, right, with that 3rd and 7 run that he had that set up the Robbie Gould field goal. At least, made it easier for Robbie. And, that's just what Shanahan is doing with him right now. I mean, Debo is the most dangerous weapon in the game. And it's easy, I think, for a lot of people to think of him as now a prototype, but I'm just really not sure you can replicate all that easily what he's able to do. I mean, he is so physical and has such good instincts when he's running the ball between the tackles or whatever, and then you get him out in space and he can just house one. Debo is just incredible right now, but I still think my favorite play from this game, Trent Williams lining up as a tight end and going in motion and basically sending Rashawn Gary into the fucking ether, was just like, and then he hit somebody else too. He just buried Gary. Yep. Yeah. And then took somebody else out. That was fucking awesome.
When he doesn't have to get set and it's a legal play, then watch out for him. No, I do want to. So Debo Samuel calls himself a wide back now. I think we went off the offensive weapon train that who was that Robinson had forever ago. Jimmy G needs a wide back out there because holy hell, the velocity he has on the pitches are nothing like the velocity he has on the rest of his passes. Debo's back there basically catching backwards passes on something that you would think that it's Aaron Rodgers throwing 4-yard curls or something like that. And then when Jimmy G does try to be an athlete, pull out a Patrick Mahomes type of thing, I love that. The rollout, the off balance throw off of one leg and 6 yards short of George Kittle and interception in the red zone completely changes this game. How they managed to pull through, I still don't quite know, because I was expecting much better from the Packers, obviously because of my pick. But fun fact here, last time Jimmy Garoppolo went 11 of 19 for 131 yards in the divisional round, made it to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs.
Same stat line?
Same exact stat line. And 1 interception in the other game. He threw a touchdown, but we don't have to get into the weeds there. I think much less likely to throw for 131 yards exactly on 11 completions and 19 attempts than any other stats.
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy's just so underwhelming, right? This game doesn't, if the Packers special teams doesn't completely collapse based on how Jimmy played in this game, I mean, people would be calling for his head in San Francisco. Instead, you have people, sticking up for him now, claiming that he deserves, however much credit for getting them back to the NFC Championship game. It's just it's wild how bad he is when you need to lean on him. And I was honestly surprised. I thought we might get Trey Lance at some point in this game. I thought it was coming.
Well, that's where I was going next. You talk about a team that throws away a first round draft pick, trades up to throw away for a first round draft pick, and you don't use them the entire year, and you get knocked out of the playoffs. I mean, damn, that Love pick looks even worse. Oh, shit. Yeah, sorry. They did that with Trey Lance, too. Third overall pick, doesn't play basically the entire year, and they're a game away from the Super Bowl. So,
Yeah.
can you imagine what this, I mean, the coaching on this team, if they're able to continue to do this, the way they got pressure on Aaron Rodgers, only rushing 4 was absolutely incredible. This team is scary. D'Amico Ryan, if he sticks around next year, good for him, but I don't see any way he doesn't get poached ultimately with what he's been able to do with this defense.
I'm pretty sure he took an interview on Sunday, and he definitely deserves a lot more. He's put together quite the defense there for sure. And that's even with, like, they still have a lot of injuries bogging that team down. The 49ers are kind of that plucky team that I don't really expect to, I mean, you didn't expect them to get this far, right? But even if they somehow manage to get by the Rams, I'm not liking their chances against anybody coming out of the AFC necessarily, but we'll see. I mean, Shanahan just continues to masterfully pull the strings there. My one question before we get off this game that I want to pose to you guys is, so Rodgers said, I think this thing is definitely going to look different in Green Bay moving forward. That very much sounds like a I'm not going to be here answer. What do we think he ultimately does? I know there's I saw some speculation today, and I'm sure we'll get, we'll go back and forth on this a million times before a decision is actually made, but speculation of him retiring again. Obviously there was the Broncos connection last year, and there's some other places like the Steelers too that would provide a good team for him. But my thought is, like, does he really want to go to the AFC at this point? You look at Mahomes, what Allen's been doing, Herbert, Burrow, Lamar Jackson. I mean, like, it's not necessarily a cakewalk if you go there. And I think he really needs, at this point, if he is going to continue playing, he needs to go somewhere that he can boost his legacy with a legit Super Bowl run, right?
Yeah, I can't see him retiring. If he retires, then all the shit that we've been through these past couple of years with his quote unquote legacy was just a waste of time. And I don't see him going out with only scoring 10 points in an NFC division game.
Right.
The wild card I've got here is Sean Payton's not committed coming back to the Saints next year. They really can't pull off a trade of Michael Thomas until post June 1, just based on the cap situation. They're 70 million over the cap right now. I can see a wink and a nod that says, okay, Sean Payton, we'll come back if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback and we make that trade official post June 1. And then you get the opportunity to go against the GOAT, Tom Brady, twice a year, prove your value there. And I think we are all in agreement that the NFC is probably a better opportunity than the AFC right now, especially better than trying to go into the AFC West.
Yeah, I mean, that would make for a very interesting situation. Like, I think probably one of the more interesting situations that he could get into. My understanding about the Sean Payton stuff, though, is he's just burned out on football. It's not even necessarily a Saints thing. And
I'd be burned out if I didn't have a quarterback next year, had 70 million to clear off my cap, and one of them is not Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
They're 70 million over the cap and don't have a quarterback essentially under contract. So
yeah,
that's a pretty big thing. A trade post June 1 for Rodgers. He only counts $27 million against the cap. They can make some stuff work. They'd have to get under, but I think that's the biggest consternation for Peyton to me is like, I don't want to do this again, defend my legacy with not having any money to spend on a quarterback.
Yeah, you could be right. And, we've seen coaches pull this sort of shit before, saying they're going to retire, and a good situation comes along and they're like, oh, okay,
And
actually,
then
I was
Hall
just
of
kidding about
Fame
that.
quarterback falls into Bruce Arians' lap, and
Yeah.
okay, I'll come back.
I've got a wild thought for you guys. Any chance the Seahawks and the Packers swap quarterbacks?
I don't think
Maybe?
the numbers work out is the problem. I think, doesn't Russ still have issues?
Russ is
with
through 2024.
But doesn't Russ still have a pre June 1 pretty high number? I guess it's not terrible. It's 26 million in dead cap and 11 in savings. So they could swap that out decently. I just don't think that either of them would be that enviable to go to either of those situations.
Yeah, I think the person saying no there would probably be Russ, right? Like,
and he's got a no trade clause, so
yeah, because I could see Rodgers getting out of that situation and, granted, going to the NFC West is not the best, decision necessarily either, but it sounds like the Packers are they might have to be in a full scale rebuild with their cap situation. And if they lose Rodgers, they're probably going to have to lose Devonta Adams no matter what.
Well, Adams isn't under contract either when they're sitting 40 million over the cap. So all of those things need to come into consideration.
So Russ, I don't think he's probably in a similar boat with Aaron, where if he's going to go somewhere, he probably wants to go somewhere that is going to set him up for success. I don't think that's necessarily the Packers right now. It's definitely an interesting thought, though, because if the only blocker is, or I guess the only catalyst is, I'm unhappy here and I want a fresh start, then why not, right? Like, Russ gets to go and play for, I guess, one of the better play callers in the league. He gets to go to a legacy team in the Packers and potentially build his legacy there. I don't know. I just feel like the teardown of that the Packers are staring in the face over, if not this offseason, the next couple off seasons would be enough to deter Russ, I suppose. But it is an interesting thought for sure.
I just have one last thing to say. Fuck you, Aaron Rodgers. 49ers are still in the playoffs, and we're goddamn talking about you at this point. So props to the 49ers for getting the job done. And I think they've got a familiar foe that they might be playing next week.
They do, yeah. So I guess we can move on to that game. Can I actually do rapid fire of some of the best Rodgers burns that came out of last night or 2 nights ago?
Yeah.
Okay. So the nicknames: Clan Marino, Rush Lambeau, Throw Rogan, which has been thrown around, for a few weeks now. Breitbart Star is like awesome. I'm a personal favorite of mine that isn't getting as much love, but QB Giuliani just like cracks me up. And then I saw somebody say that Rodgers is going to call Joe Rogan from the parking lot like Draymond did with KD when they lost to the Cavs. Oh my God. That was the gift that keeps on giving.
This would never happen, but I think it would be fucking hilarious if the Packers are just like, oh, you want to trade? Well, fuck you. We're going to send you to New York so we know you're not vaccinated and we know you won't play 8 home games because they won't let you play in New York. That would be fucking funny.
I'm pretty sure the rule and QB Giuliani would step in on that one and say it's an outdoor venue. Therefore, I'm allowed to play.
He would probably also just retire. I mean, for being honest. All right. Yes. Let's move on to the 49ers opponent. The Rams go to Tampa. They win 30-27. They were up 27-3. In fact, when they scored and to make it 26-3, I think there was, or no, wait, the extra point, right, was so 26 made it 27. My thought was I wonder if Sean McVay, sorry, would go for two just to do the 28-3 thing and just like say fuck it, like stare it right in the face. But regardless, 27-3, the Rams imploded from that point on. Cam Akers fumbled at the 1 yard line. He fumbled again late in the fourth. I mean, they tried everything to lose this game. And then Matt Stafford makes the most clutch play of his life on that throw to Cooper Kupp that gets them in field goal range. But this game was wild, absolutely wild.
Yeah, that absolutely clutch throw from Stafford to Kupp. Terrible defense. I don't know how you let the best receiver in the league just basing this on stats. If anyone wants to come at me, bro, sorry. He led in 3 categories, the 3 most important categories. So right now, best receiver in the league. How you let him get open for a 44-yard touchdown pass. And then my favorite part is all the Dallas Cowboys fans complaining about how the ball got spotted so quickly. And that's because guess what? That's a play that the refs actually prepare for, because that's a football play. Going for a 15-yard QB sneak with 0 time left is not something that, is probably in the repertoire of their training regimen.
Right.
But ultimately, this was so much fun. You talked about Sean McVay going for 2. I was shocked, quite frankly, that no brisket, no biscuit didn't go for 2. Not that I thought that the Rams weren't reeling a little bit and they would have a good opportunity in overtime, but just to say, guess what? We shouldn't be here right now. I mean, there was no reason that Tampa Bay should have been in this game. And the Rams just, like you said, imploded, made it an opportunity. And to me, this was the time where I thought Bruce Arians was just going to say, let's just do it right here. Let's not risk it. The Rams are too explosive when the ball is in Cam Akers' hand. The problem is when it's not in Cam Akers' hand. That's really what their downfall was. And I was, like I said, a little bit surprised. Not the wrong play call by any means, but was kind of expecting this to go to something where you could go back and say, well, if it was 28-3, you would have been tied, but you were only 27-3, so you lost.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've reached the point. I mean, shit, I sure as hell was like, okay, well, this game's over, right? I think I texted you guys and I said, nice job on your Bucks picks. But we've reached the point where you absolutely should never, ever, ever count out Tom Brady. And it's not even because he was particularly great in this game. He just apparently has some deal with the devil, because literally, like, the Rams just imploded. They obviously made the play that they needed to. And I think they've got as good a shot as anybody to win the Super Bowl because of how talented that team is. But this was a crazy, crazy game. And J-Rob, for you in this one, Von Miller looks like he is healthy. And that is, we got a little dance out of him, I think, in this one. And that's scary for I guess the 49ers and then whoever they might play in the Super Bowl. I mean, Aaron Donald already is enough. And then you're getting a little bit of a career resurgence from Von Miller. And it's like, well, shit, like that offense really doesn't need to do all that much to have a chance in pretty much any game they play.
Oh, yeah. That trade has already paid for itself just in the production they've gotten out of him this postseason. Speaking of pass rush production, there's a stat that ESPN pulled out called pass rush win rate, which is basically how often you win your matchup under 2.5 seconds. The Rams in that game won 58.8% of the time on the line. The Bucks pass rush won 20.7%. So just the pass rush right there was a game changer. And I'm not saying I'm rooting for the Rams, but I'm happy to see Von Miller kind of getting back into old form and showing what he was with Denver for so many years.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm happy for, I loved the midseason Trent Richardson trade from the Browns to the Colts. Wanted that to be the catalyst for, okay, let's just move these guys around like they're fantasy football players. and it's working for the Rams right now. And if that can be a
Mm-hmm.
model that says, okay, we've got either some disgruntled or some high contract people that we want to just ditch. That, I mean, you've got Odell Beckham Jr. playing like his old self. You've got Von Miller playing like his old self. Like, just screw draft picks. Let's just accumulate talent, play for the now, and then if you win enough, then you can pull the Bucks and go all 22. Let's just take some discounted contracts and try to run this back. So
Yeah.
that's my favorite part about seeing the success for the Rams right now. And Matthew Stafford, whew, making those Detroit Lions fans real sad right now. Because if you're able to pull this off, and it was just basically management that held you back this entire time, that's gonna be rough.
I've seen a lot of Lions fans actually be really happy and are rooting for him and the Rams. I think most Lions fans know that it was the Lions that were the issue and not Matthew Stafford. He still has his moments, right? And we saw it plenty of times throughout this year where he looks like he's just trying to lose games. But he's been pretty good for the last little bit, including in these 2 playoff games. And if not for what Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen are doing, you would be really, really like praising what we've seen from him so far. On the other side of that, though, with Tom Brady, how much are you guys buying into the retirement rumors with him? He did have this to say on his podcast today. He said, quote, "The team doesn't deserve anything less than my best. And if I feel like I'm not committed to that or I can't play at a championship level, then you got to give someone else a chance to play. And we'll see. I said this a few years ago. It's what relationships are all about. It's not always what I want. It's what we want as a family. And I'm going to spend a lot of time with them and figure out in the future what's next." It definitely sounds like somebody who's legitimately considering it, right? And if the Bucks have to do any sort of teardown, I mean, Chris Godwin is a free agent, is probably going to get fucking paid. I don't really know.
I thought you were going real dark on that. He's already been torn down.
Oh no, no, I think he'll be fine. But he's going to get paid. I don't really know what their situation is with a lot of these other guys on that roster. Like you said, they kind of just loaded up for another run and said, fuck cap implications and all this other stuff. He might not want to put himself through, a season next year where let's, say Peyton Manning as an example, or Drew Brees, or even Ben Roethlisberger to some degree, even though they made the playoffs, where that last year just looks sad. I don't think Tom Brady wants to do that. He obviously led the league in passing yards and touchdowns and everything this year. So it's not, his play isn't necessarily going to be the reason that he needs to step away. But I think all of the stuff that he said makes a lot of sense. And I don't know how easily he could shift over to, I don't see him going to another team, right? Like if
no, there's no way he's going to another team. I'm not going to say that I don't buy into the retirement talk. I think that is a legitimate consideration, but the only reason I could see him going out was because he led the league in so many statistical categories that he could go out saying, okay, we didn't do what I wanted to in the playoffs, but I still proved that I was the best when I went out.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that they were able to come when they were getting blown out, I was 100% confident he was coming back. He's like, I'm not fucking going out 27-3. The fact that he was able to make a run at the end makes me a little bit more concerned, but I think that he still has too much that he wants to prove. And as long as they can pitch him on what the team around him will be and say, we'll keep you viable, which they still have a decent core, but, like Rob Gronkowski's not under contract anymore. Donkey Kong Sue won't be able to be taunting anymore. It's like there are pieces that will be missing. I think that he's too competitive to say that I won this division. We were a perennial contender, and there's opportunity right now, right? Like if they had won this game, would they have been the favorite for the NFC representation in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I mean, they totally would have been the favorite to beat the Niners.
So if you're that close, I don't think that he's still playing at that high level. I don't think that he wants to walk away. But
yeah,
my wife, not Gisele Bundchen, she might have a little bit more sway. Who knows?
Yeah. He's also only under like 2022 is the last year of his deal. He does have 3 void years tacked on. So if he did just want to play out the last year, it would make sense, right?
Yeah.
From a contractual standpoint. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, in theory, we could lose Roethlisberger, Rodgers, and Brady all to retirement in the same offseason, which would be kind of nuts.
Oh no, not Big Ben. No, come back.
Well, yeah, I know. Exactly. No, don't go. uh, okay. Well, it'll definitely be something that we'll be watching and talk about for sure. But I just thought I felt like that kind of came out of nowhere yesterday. The retirement talk with Brady, it hadn't even really entered my mind just based on how well he played this year. But you start really putting the pieces together. It makes sense. I mean, Leftwich is might get a head coach job, right, and leave. So it's just more change that's happening around it. Now, granted, with Arians and Brady, Leftwich might be the third most important person in as far as calling plays on that team anyway. But
Well, yeah. And Bruce said he's coming back, which makes me more comfortable that Brady's coming back. And
yeah,
I think the thing that we have to remember out of all of this, which most people that aren't Brady fans hate, is Brady's a brand at this point. The more he's in the news, the better it is for his brand.
right.
And comments like that help out. I think Rodgers was the same way.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, the more that they're being talked about, it also helps their leverage too with anything they might be looking for from their teams. That applies more to Rodgers, I think, than Brady in this scenario. But yeah, totally.
Brady might want Antonio Brown back. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Sounds like Antonio Brown is really fuck. Can't think of words
Really
right now.
fucked.
Talking's hard. No, it sounds like he's really pushing to get to Baltimore. So we'll see what happens there. Lamar Jackson appears down based on his emoji usage. Toaster, we'll have to get you up on the latest emojis.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. So let's wrap that one up. Rams win 30-27. Rams and 49ers face off in the NFC title, NFC title game. And stepping up to play the Bengals is the Chiefs. The Bills and Chiefs gave us the game of the year.
News fest. I mean, shit. I was practically asleep. I don't know how anyone on the East Coast could have been awake still.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they started 2 hours earlier than normal.
No shit, man. I mean, simply put, like, this game was incredible. What Mahomes and Josh Allen did should fucking scare everybody in the AFC. And if you aren't,
they should still be playing right now. They should still be going back and forth in overtime since no defense can stop them.
Right, exactly. I mean, like, if you don't have the glaring thing that stood out to me, or my lasting thought really from this, was if you don't have a quarterback that is that level of talent, and I don't mean like on par with those guys because they're obviously freaks, but you don't have a guy that has super high level traits like that, you have no shot. You have no shot. Mahomes, Allen, Herbert are all sort of the archetype now of, and I get Allen's an outlier, right? Like, he was kind of this ball of clay, like, just freak athlete that figured it out. That's not going to happen for everybody. But if you can't have a quarterback that can erase mistakes the way that those guys can, and even to a lesser degree, like a Joe Burrow isn't the athlete that these guys are, doesn't have the arm, but like between the ears, is as high level as anybody in the league. And he's also like, a decent enough athlete. He can erase mistakes. But this group of guys is just so fucking exciting. And if you don't have one of them, you pretty much should just like give up on winning until you can get one of them, because you have no shot. I mean, my thought instantly went to this, and I don't mean to throw Mac Jones under the bus here. I love me some McCorkle, but how you watch what those two superhumans did last night and think like you're going to be content, like if you're Bill Belichick, with Mac Jones, for the next decade. I could see Belichick riding out the rookie deal and ultimately, making a move, because it's just, if you don't have a guy like these guys, you're fucked. You're not
Well, I mean, you
competing.
hit it on the head there. You've got to do it while it's on the cheap. And right now,
Right.
Josh Allen is still on the cheap. This was first year, as we established earlier, that Patrick Mahomes wasn't on the cheap. That's really the only thing that you can do right now, is have a mid-level quarterback contract, which is what Tom Brady was for the Patriots for
Long time.
basically most of his career, right? I think he
Yeah.
was one of the higher paid ones in the middle, like 12, 13 years. And then after that, he started taking team discounts. And that's the only way that you're going to compete with something that is that talented at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely more impressed with Josh Allen than I was with Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
But this game was fantastic to watch. I wish it would never have ended. But these are the overtime rules. And I loved how Josh Allen took it on the chin, most quite frankly, because he's not getting phased when he takes it on the chin because he's a big ass. But this, I hope, is the catalyst to change the overtime rules, just because it wasn't fair to not see this continue, in my opinion. But again, rules are the rules. Chiefs won the coin toss. Apparently, the stat is that 90% of the teams that win the coin toss in the playoffs go on to win the game, and 70% of those go on to win the game on that first drive, which is
They're 10.
Can we change it to rock, paper, scissors? At least something that gives, some sort of say instead of heads or
Right.
tails.
Yeah, a little bit of strategy. So to clarify that stat, under current overtime rules, there's been 11 overtime playoff games. The teams that won the toss are 10-1. That gives you your 90%. And 7 of those 10 won on that first drive, that sucks, man. That sucks. And like, I understand the argument of, okay, well, play defense, right? Like, get a stop and you give yourself a chance. And it's like, okay, well, not both teams weren't given that opportunity to play defense.
Well, to me, this is it's been what I've hated about coaching is you play differently based on the game situation. And if you're playing with house money, where Josh Allen's going to go down and at the very least be able to kick a field goal, if not score a touchdown, then you're all in on scoring a touchdown, and you're calling plays differently than you would be if you were trying to methodically move it down the field. Just try to take up some game clock, anything like that, and then defenses are gassed at that point. It's really not fair. It's hard enough to guard Tyreek Hill when you're at full stamina, when you're 60 minutes into a game and you've got that cheetah running around on a crossing route. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, no chance. Speaking of that, the peace sign on the touchdown late in the fourth, should that have been called taunting?
This is my biggest pet peeve with the NFL, is that they're so inconsistent in what they call. I don't care. I don't want that to be taunting. I think screw that. Like, that's more fun. Okay, peace. While the dude's in front of you, but you know that you're faster than him, so you're going to be able to beat him to the edge. Like,
awesome.
Even
awesome.
Better. Exactly. I would love to talk shit, but like, Ndamukong Suh gets kicked in the balls by Matthew Stafford, gets up, puts his finger in his face and says, "You do that again, I'm going to fuck you up." And that's a taunting penalty. It's like, no, dude just got his manhood kicked. He's not happy about it. Let's let this one cool down. We just need consistency. That's all. I don't care. It should have been taunting. It was taunting last year. I'm pretty sure Tyreek Hill is the reason they implemented that rule, because of that peace sign. So for him to be able to pull it off live from the 7-yard line or something like that, and it not get called, ultimately didn't matter in this game. Probably actually helped the Bills because it just, normal game script versus trying to, think about a return or something like that when they gain an extra 15 yards off the kickoff. But to me, it has to be called if you're going to call it, or just get rid of the rule altogether. But there's been so many penalties where it's inconsistent, right? What's holding, what's illegal contact? That's the one that has to go over everything because there's illegal contact on every single play. You can't tell me there's not.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. I don't want to see that be called taunting, but that's pretty much by the book, like why that rule exists.
I think that play fell into a similar category of like NBA playoffs, though, where like it's kind of understood that refs are going to call games differently in the playoffs. In the NBA, the game's called differently. I'm glad they swallowed their whistle. I'm sure they're going to reassess that rule, similar to what they did with like
we're doing it
pass interference reviews.
Okay, well, if you get fined for taunting, how do you not get a penalty called in the game when that actually impacts things, right? Do the Bills care that he's going to get fined $15,000 for throwing up the peace sign? No,
definitely not.
True.
No, I feel you. It was a key moment that it would have looked bad. But
and it's at home. They might have been fearing for their own safety, quite frankly.
Yeah, no shit. Getting out of that stadium, like, oof, that would have been rough for those refs. But yeah, I feel you though. I mean, it's just the inconsistency of the whole thing is maddening there. Regardless, I mean, I would pay pay-per-view to see like best 2 out of 3 from these two teams for the Super Bowl. This was so fucking cool. I think if you're a Bills fan, I know they've lost now twice in the AFC Championship game, but you've got to feel so like I just feel so happy for Bills fans given everything they've gone through to now have Josh Allen. And he had a bit of a bumpier year this year than last year. I think we kind of talked about seeing a little bit of regression, but even when some of those plays don't go his way and like he might have the occasional bad game, when he is on, and the way Brian Daboll was calling like plays for him, like, God damn, he's scary. I mean, he had in the 2 playoff games, 12 incompletions and 9 touchdowns.
0 interceptions.
Yeah.
What was it? Close to 900, or no, it was close to 700 yards.
Yeah. I mean, just absolutely nuts. I think he's the only player in NFL history to throw for over 300 yards, throw for 4 touchdowns, and rush for 60 plus yards in 2 playoff games. And
he was the only person to do it in any playoff, in any game or any playoff game, and he's done it.
And he'd done it twice
back to back.
Yes.
Yeah. No, the concern for me is Daboll has to be gone after this year. There's no way that
he's
been able to do with Josh Allen that he doesn't get poached. And where does Allen go when there's a new head guy running that offense? And I wish him the best. Great athlete, great person from all accounts. Absolutely amazing to watch, quite frankly. I mean, how often are you seeing quarterbacks hurdle guys in the first quarter just saying, I'm going to get an extra 8 yards out of this?
Yeah, he's nuts.
But I'm concerned about what happens when Daboll goes. But they put up a great game. Props to Gabriel Davis. It will be the best game of his career, and he was able to do that in a playoff game against the Chiefs. 8 receptions, 201 yards, 4 touchdowns. I don't see the 4 touchdowns ever being matched in a game of consequence in the playoffs. And the other thing that I just want to throw out here for the Chiefs is Jerick McKinnon's scary. I said it last week. That's an element of that offense that I don't want any part of, because they're between McKinnon and Hill, and then you throw in, the Hardmans, the Pringles, the other dudes that are also pretty decently fast. That's a lot to take on, and it was just a little bit too much for the Bills at the end of the day.
For sure. Mahomes stat I've got here. So if you're into some of the nerdier stuff, which I am, Mahomes in this game moved into second all-time in postseason win probability added. So he's in 402 postseason plays, has accounted for 4.67 wins. He passed Aaron Rodgers. He's in his fourth season starting. He's been to 4 AFC championship games, and he just passed Aaron Rodgers, who had 919 plays for just over 4 wins. Brady is still number one. Brady's accounted for 9.1 wins on his own. Granted, over 2,000 like plays, has contributed to that. But Mahomes second all time in postseason win probability added in year 4. It's fucking crazy. It really is.
It was, and the thing that was most amazing to me out of him this last game was how he only took 2 sacks, because he looked like he was going to be within the grasp or had multiple guys under pressure. And I'm not sure if there was just a signal from Leslie Frazier that says contain over attack or what, but he was able to get out of a ton of pressure that the Bills were able to give. And you can't defend anybody in this league if you've got 5, 6, 7 seconds to throw. So props to him. It's working right now for sure. And it is ultimately fun to watch.
Yeah. I'm here for it, man. I mean, I know we can occasionally shit on the quarterbacks that are, style above substance. But I think just from a pure watching the game perspective, enjoying the game, I mean, you cannot do any better than what we saw from these two guys. So it was a great way to end the weekend. I don't know if we're going to, like I said, I don't think we're going to top it next week or in the Super Bowl. We shall see. But I mean, just absolutely incredible weekend of football. So I really don't have much more to say about it.
I just thought it was wild that 25 points were scored under the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter. Like,
Pat Mahomes threw for 177 yards after the 2-minute warning. In that game.
That is like is Drew Lock the dude stat line for the Broncos, and he did that in a fucking 2 minutes, dude. Like, what the hell? Like,
and this is my God. Chargers versus Raiders defense either. Like, this is the number 1 defense in the league versus a defense that very much came on at the end of the year. So
yeah,
it was, again, an offensive showcase. A shame that it came down to a coin flip, but Josh Allen took it on, like I said, took it on the chin, and he said, that's the game. There's only one winner at the end of the year. And if, whether it was this game, the next game, or the game after that, we had to take all of them.
Yep. All right. Well, that will do it for our recap of the divisional round. Do you guys have any last thoughts before we get out of here?
How is
Joe Burrow we trust
still a coach if the NFC West is in the NFC Championship and they're sitting on their couch? You've got to move on and find something to compete with these guys.
Well, apparently Michael Bidwill threw a little fit and directed a lot of it towards Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury. I agree. What are we still doing here? Like, move on. Yeah. And J-Rob, to your point, and Joe Shiesty, we trust. I'm really hoping we get another cigar photo from him after next week, but we shall see. I might bet on it if it's 7 or 7.5 like it is right now, but I don't think they will move on necessarily against the Chiefs. We'll see. Stranger things have happened.
You don't trust their 3-point victory earlier this month? Take them down twice in the month of January? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what your pick is, right?
Yeah, we will.
Oh, Andy Reid with an all-time quote too. When things get grim, you're the Grim Reaper.
Oh my God.
All-time
Seriously.
Quote.
Not
all-time
only that
quote. Like, ink that on your chest. That is so good.
Yeah. And not only is that like the most badass quote ever, but if Patrick Mahomes' new nickname is the Grim Reaper, I mean, that's also an all-timer for the NFL. Like, fucking Andy Reid. I thank you for calling that out because I totally glossed over in my notes. Fucking Andy Reid is the best, dude. I love it.
Squib kick.
Squib kick, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. It took them less time to go 40 yards to get in field goal range than it took the Cowboys to run one play at the end of that game. Oh, man. All right. Anyway, that will do it for us in our divisional round recap. We will catch you later this week to give you our picks and preview for the conference championship games. And yeah, guys, 3 more meaningful football games left. I'm not counting the Pro Bowl left on the schedule. And that'll be it. So soak it up, baby. This was a great weekend.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Yeah, very sad. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.